Hi BookTube, it's Peg at the History Shelf, and I am here for this long-awaited continuation of my bookshelf tour. Probably a few months ago, I started doing a bookshelf tour. I'll just turn the camera a little bit up here on my Russian history, and mostly Russian history. Because I just decided to kind of, start there because that's where my interests were at the time. But now it's time to really, put up or shut up. I've had so many requests for the bookshelf tours, and I know you guys see these books behind me all the time. So what I thought I'd do is I'm going to start from the bottom, and I'll try to just, go sequentially up. We'll move over. Then I will, hang on a second, I'm trying to get this camera angle here. And then I'll move over, I'll skip the ones I've already done, and I'll just link to those bookshelf tours in the show notes. If anyone wants to see those again, and then I'll kind of move down, and then I'll just keep going. So, okay, just bear with me as I deal with this camera angle. I've kind of had to move things a little. I put a chair closer with the camera, and I got a microphone down here, so hopefully you can hear me. And Boomer, come on. He was the one that teased this, and I don't know, everyone was looking forward to, there he is. Come on. Do you want to tell everyone about our bookshelf tour today? Oh, he's a good boy. Say hi to all your adoring fans. Boomer is so popular, he has even been asked to the formal dance by one of our dear viewers. So
he's working on his dance steps right now.
He's working, yes, in case you didn't hear Martine, he is working on his dance steps as we speak. So he's going to be cutting up a rug, so look out. You know who you are. All right. So let's just start. Some of the shelves have rhyme and reason, and some do not. Once we buy a house, I'm going to be very, very specific or intentional in how I order my books. That'll be a huge undertaking, but I figure moving in is the best time to do that because everything's thrown up in the air, and that's the time to do it. Some shelves you have like eras and Russian titles together. I like to keep authors together even though they might write on separate topics, so that might change up the theme. And other times I just kind of have a little bit of a theme going, and then it'll be thrown completely off. But hey, I don't care. I like to be surprised as I go through my bookshelf. Another note, I think it was Jason Harrigan at Byways and Bookland who had such a wonderful way of describing what a library is, or really should be, and that is a library of books that you can go to. It's your own personal library that you've built, where you can pick out books and read. And it doesn't mean that you've read every single one. In fact, it shouldn't be that way. It should be books that you've collected for your own private enjoyment and that you plan on reading. So, having said that, I've read some of these. I haven't read all. So I'm just going to kind of show them, and I won't be giving long discursive discussions on each book. I've watched other booktubers and how they do their bookshelf tours, and I really like how Lukash at Totally Pretentious does his, and he really edits it, and it's really quick, and he'll hold up a book and then another one and another one, and that's a really fast, great way to get through the shelves. I probably won't do that, but I'll try to be as quick as I can, and no one can really beat a Steve Donahue or a Jason Harrigan or a Mark Richardson as far as just having something wonderful to say on each book. But I'll try to do my best here, and I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of titles that you guys might be interested in, and I might be asking for more recommendations from the community. So here we go. So on this bottom shelf, I'm going to start on the far left. We have Bringers of War. Let me get this right. The Portuguese in Africa during the age of gunpowder and sail from the 15th to the 18th century by John Leband. This came out, this is 2013. So this is kind of a very specialized type of book. I have not read it, but this is put out by, oh, who is this publisher? Frontline Books in London, Bringers of War. Oh, and the next one is a, wow, one of my few remaining book club editions. Again, there's that little number. It's in fairly good condition. This would be one that I would probably keep. I'm trying to get rid of my book club edition books and try to get them in first editions. But this is Vanished Kingdoms by Norman Davies. The Rise and Fall of States and Nations. This is a fairly large book. This came out. This is put out by Viking, and this came out in 2011. I don't know if any of you guys have read. Woo! Got some dust on there. Okay, and then I picked up this book from Oxford. I'm not sure when I got it, but it is, wow. See if you can see the dust. This is The History of the World, 6th edition by Roberts and Odd Arn Westad. Let me tell you, I have one mark in there. I know I used this for some papers that I wrote when I was going for my history degree, so I did use this for a lot of research and stuff. This is, it's a chunkster. This is over 1,200 pages, and it is quite heavy. Something you couldn't really read in bed. You know, it's just so heavy to kind of hold up on your chest. But wow, this goes, it's the history of the world, folks, and there's a lot going on here. Hellenistic world, China, New Middle East, making of Europe, Asia. It's a good resource for any history, history lovers, library. And again, I used it for some papers I wrote, so this came in handy. Okay, so we're kind of moving into some other topics here. Again, I have a lot of interests in different areas of history. I love almost all history, but I do enjoy studying Middle East. And this is a history of Palestine, from the Ottoman conquest to the founding of the State of Israel, by Gudrun Kramer. This is another one of my book club editions. There's an, what is that, an Ottoman fighter? Yeah, so again, this one's kind of got the cheaper binding. We'll see. Someday I'll have these kind of transitioned out. But for now, it's in pristine condition. And just like a good history of Palestine. Okay. Moving on. It's another book from Oxford. I love their books. This is The Great Ocean. Pacific Worlds from Captain Cook to the Gold Rush by David Igler. Quick little read on just the Pacific history with all the different explorers up to the age of the Gold Rush, obviously. So good stuff right here, Great Ocean. Next book is Holy Wars by Gary L. Rashba. 3,000 Years of Battles in the Holy Land. I'm curious to know if Jason Byways and Bookland has this one. He's a big Crusades fan, as am I. This came out in 2011. Oh, yes, great publisher. We love Casemate. I love Casemate publishers. They put out great military history stuff. Yes, love their books. This is a probably 250-page book, and it does. The interesting thing about this is that it's not just the Crusades. It takes you all the way up to modern times. Obviously, with the 3,000 years of battle, takes you up to the creation of the State of Israel and the Six-Day War and all that kind of stuff. So this is Gary L. Rashba's Holy Wars. Okay. The next book that's kind of out of place, because I do have a section of English history and early English history, but this is also a book club edition with the number in the bottom, and it's kind of lightweight, kind of cheap. But I've seen that they have a Folio Society edition of this, which I'm interested in getting. This is She-Wolves, the women who ruled England before Elizabeth. So we're talking about like Queen Matilda, Eleanor Aquitaine, Isabella of France, Margaret of Anjou. Good stuff. But yeah, you can tell this. I've had this one for a little while, and the pages are kind of yellowing, and I don't like that. That happens sometimes with these book club editions, so the paper is not as high quality. So this one I might donate once I'll donate, give it away, once I can replace it with a finer edition. So, She-Wolves. Okay, now I get into a little section about 5 books on Irish history. I took a special topic class during one of my semesters for my history degree, and I chose History of Ireland. The class itself, it wasn't what I expected for a History of Ireland class. The assigned readings weren't they weren't very up to standard in my idea of what a thorough history should be. So I felt like I learned little bits and pieces of Irish history, early Irish history, but not a full view. So it made me want to know more. And this was even before I met Martine. Yeah, that was shortly before I met Martine. Right, Martine?
I think so.
Yeah. So anyway, and I know I've asked her for recommendations, and I want to ask you, especially Jason, Byways in Bookland, if you have some of these books, and if there's something you think I'm missing, I know you've given us great recommendations for books on like Irish folklore, myths, legends, and all that kind of stuff. I do want to have some more solid overall histories of Ireland. So I'm putting that out there to anyone who has those recommendations. Please comment in the field below and let me know. But this is what I have so far. I have The Origins of the Irish. It's a beautiful cover by J.P. Mallory. Thames and Hudson put this book out. So this just obviously deals with the very early just ethnographic and early shelter, like early man, Neolithic migration patterns, stuff like this. So I mean that's a good start. The metalworking history. I mean, it's wonderfully illustrated. Sorry guys, let me get that on there. Yeah, good stuff. So this is The Origins of the Irish, and then for my class, I picked up this book just to kind of help me fill in some gaps on my own. But this is Ireland by Gustave de Beaumont, with an introduction by Tom Garvin and Andreas Hess. So I picked this one up used, and it's a very nice used copy. The subtitle is Ireland, Social, Political, and Religious. Oh, I see, right. And so Gustave de Beaumont at age 35, this was actually written a long time ago. Which is fine. I really like reading older, writing. Historical works written in the 18th and 19th centuries I find fascinating. Just because they're an interesting reflection of the time and that the histories were written, which you wouldn't find in today's textbooks or history books. I mean, they're very sanitized in many ways, but these kind of give you a window into the world, even through the historian's lens. Because as you know, in each and every time, and every historian, as objective as they want to be, has a bias. So it's just human nature. You can't get around it. So this is the one book I have, which I consider to be so far kind of like the closest to a history of Ireland. But again, I feel like I'm missing something. So I kind of need some help here. And then I have two books by the same author that I picked up as well, which taken together I hope would constitute a good overall history. First one is In Search of Ireland's Heroes, the story of the Yes, she's one of my heroes. The story of the Irish from the English invasion to the present day. Sorry for the glare there. By Carmel McCaffrey. And I bought this one used, but it's a very good edition. This one came out in 2006. So this one talks about like the princes of Ireland, patriots and rebels, Granton, Tone, Fitzgerald, struggling for land rights and home rule, Charles Stuart Parnell. Then it talks to like literature, to armed rebellion, the Irish War of Independence, the North and South, the two states of Ireland. So that kind of ends there. So I mean, it talks about different battles, obviously earlier battles like the Battle of Kinsale and the flight of the Earls. And this kind of is coming back to me a little bit because, you know, I wrote for my Ireland class, my research paper was on the battle. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of it. But it was the battle with Brian Boru.
It wasn't the Battle of the Boyne, was it?
Wasn't the Battle of the Boyne, no.
Battle of Clontarf?
Yes! Yes, it was the Battle of Clontarf. Pretty sure. Thank you, helper.
Welcome.
All right, then this is the second one I have by Carmel McCaffrey, and then this is In Search of Ancient Ireland. So the first one's In Search of Ireland's Heroes, and this one is In Search of Ancient Ireland, the origins of the Irish from Neolithic times to the coming of the English. And this is Carmel McCaffrey and Leo Eaton. This one's in paperback. But in this one, did it come out before or after the other one? Oh, this one actually came before us in 2002. So again, along with the origins of the Irish down here, this one also talks about just where the people came from, the Neolithic stuff, and so In Search of Ancient Ireland. So okay, and the other Irish history book I have, it's not, well, I don't know, I guess it's technically part Irish. It's called The Other Irish, and this is about the Scots-Irish. The Scots-Irish Rascals Who Made America by Karen F. McCarthy. It's a pretty cool book. Now that. This was put out by Sterling Press. Never heard of them. But this came out in 2011. Okay, so it's talking about the Scots-Irish who played a big part in American history. And the people who had the shared ancestry, which goes from like Andrew Jackson, Gilbert Tennant. I guess he was a religious guy who kind of helped with form the Great Awakening. Then we have, of course, George Patton, and then John Rankin and John Caldwell Calhoun. We know who John Calhoun is. Okay. And it says here, Junior Johnson. Okay, that's like a NASCAR driver. I'm like, wow, is that what? I guess we're taking it up to present day stuff. But, yeah. This picture of Patton right there. So this is the other Irish, the Scots-Irish. Good stuff. All right. And then we kind of move into some other topics. If this focus does not... Ooh. Okay. Just want to make sure because it keeps kind of zooming in and out. Next one I have is The Queen's Agent, Sir Francis Walsingham, and the Rise of Espionage in Elizabethan England by John Cooper. This came out, this is from, I think, Pegasus Books? Yes, Pegasus Books, came out in 2012. I think this is a first, yes, it is a first edition. You can tell by the nice two-tone. This is a real book. The book club editions are just blah. What got me interested in Walsingham was, I'm not going to lie, is the movie Elizabeth with Cate Blanchett. The guy, Geoffrey Rush, I believe, played Walsingham. And wow, was it stunning. His performance was mesmerizing. I just loved it. So, of course, after I watched the movie, I was like, I got to learn more about this guy. So this is The Queen's Agent by John Cooper. So one of my heroes, I don't want to say heroes, but, like, I can say, honestly, Amelia Earhart is one of my all-time, yeah, she's a hero to me. I've followed it and read about her since I was a little girl. She's just the ultimate in the human spirit, I think, in courage and just to be herself and to follow her passion. I love Amelia Earhart. The other person who I thought was intriguing, I wouldn't say hero just because I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but I loved that she bucked the trend of the time. It was a man's world, and she was following her vision. And that person was Joan of Arc. And this is Joan of Arc, A Life Transfigured by Catherine Harrison. Love that. I just love the imagery too. I love the art surrounding Joan of Arc. It's just it's awesome. It just moves me on a certain level. So this came out. This is by Doubleday, and this came out in 2014. And this follows her life. I mean, I've read several different biographies on Joan of Arc. I've seen many movies. I thought The Messenger was pretty interesting with Mila Jovovich, and how at the end they kind of brought in the. It kind of leaves it up to your interpretation at the end of that movie. Who's talking to her in the cell? The person is played by Dustin Hoffman, but he's in a cloak. He's kind of like the person who's giving, is either telling her the truth of of her life, or he's planting seeds of doubt, like Satan would. Ah! Oh, I just tipped this over. So sorry. That was Satan. Satan did that. I just knocked over the microphone as I was getting to a very important point. But yeah, at the end of that movie, before she's burned at the stake.
Spoiler alert.
There's no spoiler alert. I mean, anyone worth their salt in history knows what happened to Joan of Arc.
Listen.
You listen. Okay. So anyway, Joan of Arc, I've owned several books on her. I've seen the movies, and I really enjoyed The Messenger, so I would highly recommend you see it. Let me know when you do, and then I'll spoil it after that. Well, I didn't really spoil it, but tell me what you think of the ending. Was that the devil talking to her? Or was that her conscience / God? Who knows? Okay. A little bit of dust on this one. Next one we have is Isabella, the Warrior Queen by Kirsten Downey. And, yeah, I have not read this one, but this is a book club edition. Ooh, there's that number. But this is about, what is this, Isabella of Castile. The controversial Queen of Spain, who sponsored Christopher Columbus's journey to the New World, established the Spanish Inquisition, and became one of the most influential female rulers in history. So obviously Isabella of Ferdinand and Isabella. So I got you. There's a lot of Isabellas floating around at the time. So, but when they say Ferdinand and Isabella, I know exactly which Isabella it is. So if this is a good copy to have. And then, so this one is actually kind of makes sense being right next to it. So I have a little bio on, well, not a bio on, but this is Columbus, The Four Voyages by Lawrence Bergreen. It's a pretty good cover, but again, it's a book club edition. I'm kind of bummed, but still in great condition, still worth a read, and I can pass this along after I'm done with it. But yeah, this is about the Four Voyages. Columbus. Oh, look at this. What do you know? So this is a book by an author that recently had a new release, which I wrote a review for on Open Letters, and I really enjoyed it. This is Buddy Levy. We've seen him before. As Steve likes to say, we've seen it before on this channel. Sorry. River of Darkness. This is Francisco Orellana's legendary voyage of death and discovery down the Amazon, by Buddy Levy. Who he also wrote a book called Conquistador. But yeah, this one this came out. Ooh, I like this. I like the inside. And then you go over here. Woo! I like that kind of dramatic opening front pages, you know. When did this come out? This came out in 2011, so I have a lot of 2011 books. And this is a first edition. Oh, it's a nice decollage. See, I haven't been down on this lower shelf in a while, guys, so I'm kind of like discovering things all over. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is from the acclaimed author of Conquistador, comes this thrilling account of one of history's greatest adventures of discovery. With cinematic immediacy and meticulous attention to historical detail, here's the true story of a legendary 16th century explorer and his death-defying navigation of the Amazon. River of Darkness, Pathway to Gold. So it takes place in 1541. Kind of follows Pizarro and his lieutenants as they're searching for the rumored land of cinnamon and the fabled El Dorado. So this is good stuff. Oh, this kind of stuff I just found fascinating. It kind of reminds me of the ending of Apocalypto, which I'm just going to say right now, I'm sorry, it is a genius film. Whatever you think of Mel Gibson, that movie was amazing. And the curious thing is you cannot find that movie on DVD or Blu-ray. For some reason, there was some contention over the rights of the movie, but you can find a Blu-ray formatted for Region 2, I think, for a lot of money. But it's like I want to see this movie again, and I can't get it. You just can't get it. It's not even on Netflix or Prime Video. But anyway, but if you've seen Apocalypto, the ending itself will kind of make sense as to why I'm mentioning it here. Anyway, yeah, Buddy Levy. And he wrote his recent book is Labyrinth of Ice, about the Greely Polar Expedition and what went wrong with that polar expedition, which took place in 1881. I really enjoyed that book. So I've got another one of his. Okay, and then we're moving on to Astoria by Peter Stark. This is John Jacob Astor and Thomas Jefferson's Lost Pacific Empire. A story of wealth, ambition, and survival. Nice big long subtitle there. This is from Echo Books. Let's see here. So it's set in 1810 or so. In 1810, John Jacob Astor sent out 2 advance parties to settle the wild, unclaimed western coast of North America. More than half his men died violent deaths. The others survived starvation, madness, and greed to shape the destiny of the continent. So, sounds very similar to other books I've read, like the Labyrinth of Ice, which sounded very much similar to that. And this came out in 2014. Oh my gosh, I'm already at 31 minutes. But I think we might edit this a little bit. So anyway, let me try to wrap up the shelf here. So, Astoria. Then we have A Savage Empire by Alan Axelrod. The subtitle is Trappers, Traders, Tribes, and the Wars That Made America. Kind of fits into the new America, the traveling, opening of the West, that kind of thing. Hope you can hear me. This came out in 2011, and this is by Thomas Dunn Books. Yeah, this talks about the earliest expeditions in the New World, and taking the reader through American Revolution and beyond. It's cool because it kind of looks at it chronicles how the American frontier served as an arena in which Spanish, Portuguese, French, Dutch, and English explorers, trappers, and settlers sought control over lucrative trade in the Virgin Land. Savage Empire. Right. And this is a book I definitely want to get rid of and get a better version. I mean, this is a short, squat book. It doesn't even fit the size of the other books. This is The Royal Stuarts, A History of the Family That Shaped Britain by Alan Massey. It's put out by Thomas Dunn Books. It's again a book club edition, and it's just very. It's this and the next book are very like short and squat. They don't really match the same size of other books, so they're kind of like, I'm kind of picky when it comes to my first editions. Well, they should be first editions, and this is not. And the pages are yellowing slightly, so. But it's, a good overview of the Stuarts, whom I find fascinating. So I'd like to get this in a better edition. The next one I have is on Albert by Jules Stewart. And Albert was the husband, the consort of Queen Elizabeth. No, wait. Hello, Queen Victoria. This is also in a very kind of flimsy edition, book club edition. So there's some things, like I said, I'm going to clean up in my library in the coming year. This came out in 2012, and there's that. Of course, there's a new biography on Prince Albert by A.N. Wilson, which I have on my shelf, and still need to read and review. I'm doing as many as I can. The next one, we're getting close to the end, so this one's a little bit different. This is kind of out of place. This is Controversies and Commanders, Dispatches from the Army of the Potomac by Stephen W. Sears. So this really belongs with my other Civil War books. But I have so many Civil War books, and they're not even all on display on bookshelves. A lot of them are in storage. A lot of them are kind of mixed in. Just because of my recent thesis paper, I pulled a lot of stuff out. So now they're like on my shelves, but they're not ordered, and they're just kind of all hither and yon, and I need to get them in some semblance of order, and this should be with them. I picked this up used. I was intrigued. Well, I like Stephen Sears' work. Landscape Turned Red, his book on the Antietam, was one of the first books I read, along with Battle Cry of Freedom by James McPherson, that really got me going in Civil War history. It was an amazing story, just weaving in the personalities, the battle itself, the consequences of the battle. So Landscape Turned Red by Stephen W. Sears is fantastic. This is interesting. So this one, he investigates the accusations of disloyalty against General Charles Stone, the court marshal of Fitzjohn Porter. The Crisis in Army Command on the eve of the Antietam battle, the Lost Order of Antietam, the revolt of the Potomac Army's high command, and the notorious General Dan Sickles, who had shot his wife's lover outside the White House. And he was acquitted, by the way. It was different times. Or maybe not so different. It's crazy. And then there's more stuff in here. So yeah, Controversies and Commanders. I just love stuff like this. Like each chapter's just a different thing that happened. That each chapter has its own footnotes. So they're kind of like essays in a way. And the revolt of the generals. This is cool stuff. I'm a Civil War nut. Oh, this one's on Stanton. Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton. Poor John Porter. You get a raw deal, I think. Anyway. So that's Controversies and Commanders by Stephen W. Sears. Alright, so the last book on this bottom shelf kind of takes us back to Astoria and a Savage Empire, really in theme, I think, but in timing. But this is the French and Indian War by Walter Bornemann. This is Deciding the Fate of North America. Walter Bornemann is really well known in historical circles. He wrote 1812 and Alaska, Saga of a Bold Nation, of a Bold Land. And this one just is everything you want to know about the French and Indian War. This is a really good volume. You should have this one. Yeah, it's a great cover too. Oops, sorry. French and Indian War, Walter Bornemann. Okay, guys, so that's my first shelf. Look, we did it. We got through it somehow. Sorry for the length of this. Gonna try to see if we can edit this, clean it up a bit. But in the meantime, I think we'll just keep going with this. I have a good spot right here, at least for the next two shelves. I can just do sitting down. And let me know what you think, if you could hear me okay, if everything was up to your, to your liking. Yeah, so the next shelf, again, we'll have a little bit of a mix. This is like right here, kind of, these sections right here, like early Americana, that kind of follow along with Astoria, the exploration of America, post-American Revolution, right after and around the French and Indian War. We have, but I have 1812 here. We have a history of 1812. Oh, we've got good stuff in here. We've got Bernard Bailyn, who's a fantastic historian. And then we're going to kind of go back into some European history. Then we have early history. I've got a selection of books here by Hugh Thomas. I've got these 1491, 1493, 1494. Anyway, but that's just a preview of things to come. And then we kind of just jump all the way up into, it makes no sequential sense, but we kind of move up into like World War II up here. But anyway, like I said, I will reorder things once we move into some new digs. Okay, guys, well, that's a wrap. This was a long shelf tour, but I just wanted to come through on that. Thank you, Boomer, for coming over. Thank you for teasing it. He is sleeping somewhere. So, on that note, you guys have a great day. Happy reading. Happy weekend. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Bye.